It is 4 p.m. Eastern on Friday, which means it is time for the Audible. I'm with my guys, Donnie, Rightside, and the triumphant return of the whale capper. All these great cappers in the chat. Let's get after it. Donnie, Rightside, Football Friday. How you doing today?
Doing good, man. Ready to go. Let's get this prep work together. Sunday, show the fruits of our labor, Jimmy. It's a good day to be alive. I love it. NFL style. Let's do it.
A big day ahead of us. Whale capper, how are you doing on this Friday?
Oh, couldn't be better, man. I missed you guys. Missed you guys in the chat. I think my performance last week was not great. I'm going to blame it on the fact that I didn't get my normal routine. We didn't get the Audible on. So now that we're going to talk through all this stuff, maybe find a couple more angles, a couple extra winners to pad the card, I'm fired up. Let's get going.
Sure, we can call your performance last week not great. If we call your performance not great, then mine was downright pitiful, and I'm about to lose my mind here. My record is beyond comprehension. I mean, not in my wildest dreams did I think I would fall apart like I have so far this season. Rafa, my friend, can you please put up the records? And I'm going to try not to look. I'm not going to look. But I have to look! Oh, God! Oh, Jesus. I mean, just awful. Just awful. Not seeing things clearly. I stayed off the Thursday nighter. Thankfully. Would have added some L's to that card. But thank God. This is not Jimmy the Bag presents the Audible. This is Donnie Rightside, the Whale Capper. Will be breaking down each and every one of these football games. And I will be your host. So let's get after it right now. Thank you to all the great cappers in the chat. We got MWMS. I don't know if Rafa could have possibly stayed on that record any longer. I'm just shocked. Were you on that record for a full minute there, Rafa? MWMS, Lillian Pumpernickel, Geghard A, Sean Mick, Joe Rich Ramirez, First Do Barbecue, Joe Yurkovich, Ray Williams, Craig 77, Leonard Welch, Jake Bell, Major Tom. Where's Robert Weimer? What? How can we even go? The one thing I've had in my life, every Audible, is Robert Weimer. He better show up or I'm going to smash this computer. Robert Weimer's the last consistent thing I have in my life, and he's not in the chat right now. Okay, let's get after it. Let's start with Chiefs, Titans. Chiefs, Titans, everybody pull up their odds page at sportsbookreview.com. SBR odds, the best odds in the business. Mahomes is cleared to play. It is official. Patrick Mahomes will be in the lineup. Kansas City at -6. Let me just make sure I'm logged in. I am. Opened at -6, it says here. Let me just make sure that's a pinnacle opener. It is -6 and is at -6 right now. This total opened up at 48. It's now at 49.5. Mahomes will return. So will Frank Clark. He missed 2 straight games with a neck issue. Kendall Fuller will also be back. Cornerback Kendall Fuller will be back after missing 3 games. The Titans have been shut out in the first half 4 times this season. They gave Derrick Henry the ball twice in the first half last week. I mean, it's just atrocious coaching. Unbelievable. And then we have Reed, Andy Reid, whom we all trust, except for his parenting skills. 1 for 7 all-time against the Titans. 0 for 4 with Philadelphia. 1 and 3 with the Chiefs, and that lone win came in 2013. The Titans have allowed an NFL worst 38 sacks. Donnie Rightside, Chiefs, Titans.
It's, if you got in and you got the line when it was just hovering around 3.5, 4s, 4.5, you're probably going to show some value, and that's the side that you probably would be on because you were guessing right that Patrick Mahomes would be healthy and ready to go, which he is in this football game. You bring up some good points there, Jimmy. Also, you're talking about the health of the Kansas City Chiefs, who showed a lot of fight when they were down a lot of people. Look at last week alone. I mean, Adam Thielen does dip out of that game fairly quickly, which did help their defense, but they were hamstrung on defense playing with a backup quarterback, and they fought hard to beat a really good Minnesota football team. Now you go on the road. Do you have maybe that little decompression? I don't think so, because you get that re-energized charge from Patrick Mahomes being your quarterback. There's some things that they should be able to do, being the Kansas City Chiefs against the Tennessee Titans. The one thing that's a little bit leery here is I've been on the train. Tannehill's a better quarterback than Marcus Mariota. I think we don't even have to have an argument about that anymore. At least their offense functions with him back there. But now going to possibly be down Corey Davis in the lineup and also Delaney Walker, a little bit more hamstrung, because we do know, Jimmy, you probably can't get into a game where you say, well, let's just run the football and see what we can keep the Chiefs off the field. You might have to engage in a shootout, and they're down a couple men. I look for Kansas City to win this game by 7 points or more. So I still like it, even though it's at 6.5. But obviously, with a lot of that value gone, Kansas City, to me, should be able to handle Tennessee this weekend, Jimmy.
They should be. They should be able to handle this Titans squad. Whale Capper, Chiefs, Titans.
Yeah, this one was a stay away, and I agree with Donnie that if you got in early, you did great because it was pretty clear that they were making it their mission to get Mahomes in this game. And honestly, in Mahomes' absence, I thought the Chiefs played pretty well. They lost that game to Green Bay, but they were competitive there. They came up with an upset win over the Vikings last week, which was pretty wild. And the Chiefs' defense overall is playing kind of well. I mean, I didn't expect to be saying this halfway through the season, but here we are. And I would think that I'm using this as an opportunity to kind of like watch and learn, try to evaluate really what the medical state of Mahomes is, because in order to cover this number on the road, they're going to have a complete performance out of him. And they really rushed him back from this injury. I mean, this was a really small time window to expect him to come back to 100%. And he may be a little tentative in some of these early game reps. We can expect that Tennessee is going to have a terrible approach on offense because they have all season, and there's no reason to think otherwise. I think Kansas City probably covers. I think there's probably an under game. But I'm using this mostly as a reconnaissance here because what we've seen from Mahomes is when he's feeling well, when he is mobile and moving out of the pocket, he is dynamic, he is dangerous, he is lethal. When he is constrained, when he is contained, and you ask him to try to make plays, all of a sudden he looks a little uncomfortable. He's not quite as dangerous. And so I'm interested to see if we're going to get Mahomes A or Mahomes B. If it's Mahomes A and he's already, if he's already firing, he's already ready to go, then he's going to be a guy that we're going to want to look pretty hard at backing down the home stretch here. And if it's B, then we're going to want to be a little cautious getting involved with the Chiefs for the next couple weeks.
63 Fahrenheit, sunny, 10 miles per hour will be the wind in Nashville on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I have no move on Chiefs at Titans. Joe Rich Ramirez says Mahomes may show some rust. Don't be surprised. The under might be a look. Also, I gave out the weather on each game on Tuesday when Donnie and I broke this down, and it's about 5 degrees warmer than expected in a lot of these spots. This one not included, but about 5 degrees warmer in a lot of these spots. All right, let's move on to Bills, Browns. 48 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 13 mile per hour will be the wind. This total opened up at 41.5, now 40.5 or 40. Browns opened up as 2.5-point favorites. There are a couple threes out there and 2.5. Browns have lost 4 straight. They're winless at home. They scored just 1 touchdown on 5 trips inside the Denver's 20-yard line last week. But cue Kareem Hunt back after an 8-game NFL suspension. Odell Beckham has done nothing. He's been targeted 7 times all year in the red zone. Cleveland ranks 25th in the league in the red zone offense. Buffalo first at 71.4%. But Buffalo's 6 wins have come against opponents with a combined 9-44 record. Donnie Rightside, let's get it popping. A lot of people sexy picks on the Browns this week. Are you going to back these Cleveland Browns?
Early in the week when we talked, Jimmy, on the Audible, I'm sitting to myself saying, boy, there's so much value in the Cleveland Browns. They're at home. It's -2.5. What's going on? Even though they haven't been playing well, it looks like a spot that they could rise up and steal it. But, this coming from a perspective where I was on one of those Custer last stand type games with the Atlanta Falcons when they went out and played the Arizona Cardinals and lost. I think last week was Cleveland's last stand saying, look, if we can't get right against the Broncos, who shouldn't be able to score more than 14 points with a rookie quarterback and the weapons that they don't have on the Broncos were the better football team from opening kick, Jimmy, to the final closing gun in that football game. I don't think there's any, come to Jesus meetings and we got to play a lot better, because when you were looking last week into this week, that was a must-win football game with the Browns where their best players were worried about what cleats they were going to wear for the game. And when they went to Nike in the summer and they painted their cleats up, they were so upset. Like, that was the reason they were upset, not because they actually lost the football game, effectively probably ending their football season. So now they're going to come home, and what are they going to get? Look, the Buffalo Bills aren't the most talented team on offense, but you know what Sean McDermott's going to have them ready to do? They're going to be ready to play football. They're not going to shoot each other in the foot in this football game, have 15 penalties, turn it over 5 or 6 times, and come out of here with a loss. They're going to be the more disciplined football team. So I completely swung from Tuesday saying, how can I back the Browns, to the end of the week saying the Bills are probably the better football team in this game. They're certainly better on defense. And now you're looking at 2 top 20 pass rushers that the Cleveland Browns had entering into this football game. Olivier Vernon's down in this game, so now you're down to Myles Garrett. You could send that extra blocker his way. You can chip that way, when before you couldn't do that because both of these guys were elite coming off the edge. I think the Browns are going to be able to shock this weekend. I think the Bills get into the 20s, win and cover outright in this football game, Jimmy.
Wow. I mean, that was my look on Tuesday, and I keep hearing people back in Cleveland here. Clint Richardson, Bills are scrappy. I have copied and pasted your action, ganja printer. Whale capper. Whale capper, Bills, Browns.
Yeah, this one stinks, guys. I do not like the looks of this line at all. I agree pretty much with everything that Donnie laid out there. The Browns have maybe one advantage in that, they're getting a lot out of their running back, Nick Chubb, and, the Bills are a little soft when it comes to that type of running back up the middle there. So if the Browns can get a lead, if they can play from ahead, maybe they generate a little bit of confidence. But that performance that they put on tape in Denver was so bad. The tackling was so poor. Let yourself get behind to that degree to a quarterback making his first ever NFL start. That was horrible. And I'm not getting involved with the Browns anytime soon. It does look like maybe we saw kind of rock bottom for Baker Mayfield. Like, that press conference was so sad and pathetic after that Denver game. So maybe he bounces back from here. At this point, the only reason I'm watching any Browns games is I want to see a couple more interceptions from Mayfield so I can get his season interceptions over prop home. And then after that, they probably need to tear it down and start over with the head coaching staff next year and try to salvage this roster, which is full of talent, but performing way under expectation.
The tackling, it was about as angry as I've been. So Saturday, I got killed at the Breeders. And then Sunday, I lost $400 on the Browns game. And the tackling, I've never seen it. I don't remember seeing that in watching high school football. I don't remember seeing that tackling. I couldn't believe what I was watching with these Browns. And then I've heard a bunch of different cappers thinking that this is the spot where the Browns surprise. I'm excited to hear that Donnie has flipped the switch and moving towards the Bills. And then you don't want anything to do with the Browns, Whale Capper, but you're not flipping over, but you're not going to make a move on the Bills here?
Yeah, no, there's just the Bills are they're a little bit of a fraudulent team. I agree that Sean McDermott is getting the most out of this team. I agree that the defense is carrying them. They have a lot of kind of Bears 2018 whiffs to them. Maybe that's why we should listen to Donnie on the Bills. But even still, Josh Allen is not playing great quarterback here. He could take them out of the game with a couple of poor drives, a couple of poor interceptions here. So I think it's a lot to ask Buffalo, who doesn't really need this game. They're in control of their own, destiny down the stretch with some matchups against some pretty weak opponents that should clinch them a wild card. The urgency is not really there. This is a pride game for the Browns. So, just the intangibles here have kind of kept me from backing the Bills.
Donnie, do you think the Bills will be an official play on your card?
I don't know if they're going to be an official play on the card necessarily, but I can be swayed because I don't want to jump out. Like, it might be, because if I get like threes across the board where it's trending in that direction, I don't know how high the scoring total is going to be, because I have this game pegged as one of those, the highest it could possibly, like 24-21 type range. It's one of those where it's say, if either one of these teams wins, I don't know if one team blows the other one out, so I would lean on the points in that game. 3 might be able to sway me. Right now it looks like 2.5 primarily, but 3 might be able to sway me by this weekend, Jimmy.
Yeah. No, I get it. All right, let's move on to Cardinals, Buccaneers. 76 Fahrenheit, sunny, 9 miles per hour. Tampa Bay opening as 6-point favorites, quickly down to 4.5. This total opened up at 54, quickly down to 52 and 52 and a half. Arizona has Arians has a rich history with this Cardinals team, and we talked on Tuesday how Kingsbury has something brewing and Kyler Murray is trending in the right direction. He really is. Now 172 consecutive passes without an interception, the longest current streak in the NFL. The Cardinals turned the ball over 4 times all season. Just 4 times all season. They're expecting to get David Johnson back. We just saw what Kenyon Drake could do last week. Arizona's defense has given up more than 407 yards per game, 30th in the league. In the air, 281 yards per game. We thought Patrick Peterson would change that. He has not changed that. Bucs have lost 4 straight. Bucs haven't made the playoffs since 2007. Bucs lead the NFL in run defense, but they're one of 3 teams allowing more yards per game passing than Arizona. and this total opened at 54 because of it, but we've seen it come down to 52.5. I only have 2 plays on this entire card. I'm just not seeing things clearly, so I'm not going to be sitting here with a ton of plays. Cardinals, Buccaneers, Donnie Rightside, how do you see this banging out?
You know what's interesting about this game? Because we're looking at like the actual line itself. Pinnacle, that soft open, -6, plus 101. Chris opened up at 6, and now levels off at 4.5. The one thing I'm trying to quantify is what type of value can we get? Because theoretically, Tampa hasn't been home in like a month and a half, and you're talking about road games that they played that they had to expend a lot of energy. We're not talking about, like playing like at Miami. I mean, you had at the Rams, at New Orleans, specifically Carolina, basically a road game since it was played overseas, at Tennessee and at Seattle. And I got to tell you, when you're looking at these scores overall, like at least the final scores, they beat the Rams. They only lost by a touchdown to New Orleans on the road. Carolina, 37-26. We've watched like Jameis Winston completely imploded, and yet still they were looking for possibly that backdoor cover on the last drive that Winston threw another interception in the end zone. 27-23 at Tennessee, where if a call goes their way on a blocked field goal or a fake field goal attempt, they win that football game. Seattle, if they don't, Jameis Winston doesn't throw the ball backwards at one point, and maybe they even get a chance to win it in overtime if they get the ball, they possibly win that football game. So I'm not really, I know Arizona's played a little bit better. When they stepped up in competition, they lost. They just had 2 tough games against upper echelon teams. Then they handled their business in the 3 games previously before that. I don't know if it's whether they've been on the road so long that they're now playing competition. They're going to decompress and maybe take Arizona lightly, even though Tampa Bay's only a 2-6 team. I got to be honest here. I'm leaning early in the week towards Tampa Bay in this game only because they've leveled up in competition. They're finally coming home. And you still have a young football team that's going to be traveling on the road to play down in Tampa Bay. I'm leaning towards the Bucs here. I don't have an official play, but that's the way I'm leaning here, Jimmy.
I was on the Bucs last week. It was an infuriating game. I cashed here for show purposes, but I bet it at 6, and that was a push, and I desperately needed that as a win. Pink Eye Genie. Not only does he spread pink eye awareness, but he's our all things Arizona expert. Says, if anything, Arizona knows Arians left, which in both systems. Bucks can't say that about Arizona, like Arizona and the points. Ray Williams, like in the cards, Bucks over. Whale Capper. This is a tricky spot, Arizona-Tampa. Oh. There we go. Arizona.
It is a tricky spot, and I fired on this under. If you dig into kind of Arizona's performance at home versus on the road this year, you see some pretty stark and obvious things that pop. They are still a young team. They have a young quarterback, and they have an offensive line that's not great. On the road, they are not necessarily as cohesive a unit in terms of getting a running push. They're not as effective in the red zone, especially. They're kicking a lot of field goals when they should be otherwise scoring touchdowns. And in general, I wanted to back a team like Arizona who's coming on, who's playing, with confidence, who's, generated a little bit of momentum. I would have liked to, grab a big old number with that team. But when you kind of dig in and you see how they perform on the road, it's really not that impressive. And then on the other side, they're getting David Johnson back, and Kenyon Drake did run well, but Tampa Bay stops the run extremely well. And I think if they're coming into this game thinking, hey, we're going to control tempo, we're going to run the ball because we're doing a good job of that lately, they're going to be sadly disappointed when they're facing a lot of 3rd and long situations. And then on the other side, I think Jameis Winston is reined it in a little bit in terms of his turnovers. But this is a much tougher defense that he's facing this week than he had last week against the Seahawks, and he's at home. So I would expect that there's a little bit more conservative game plan. I don't think he's going to be able to get completions to Mike Evans like we've seen throughout this part of the season because Patrick Peterson's going to have tight coverage on Evans. So I think this plays more into first team to 24 gets the win as opposed to, one of these teams really exploding for 28 or 30 points. So I took under 52, expecting this to be kind of a one-possession game decided by a field goal sort of late. I'm expecting it to look not all that different than what we saw when Arizona went to, say, Cincinnati. So I guess all said and done, I don't mind 4.5 points with Arizona, but I think under 52 is a stronger look.
Interesting. We have Whale Capper's first official play here on the Under the Sports. 78 says Arizona was an initial lean due to better DVOA and 10 days rest, but Tampa Bay finally comes home after 5 straight road games. Tampa Bay might have extra motivation to win for Arians against the former squad. Muhammad Joma says this is a trash game. Stay away from this. Akira on Tampa Bay -4.5. And Pink Eye Genie says will be a close game. Points are the play. Points are the play. All right, let's move on to this Battle of New York. Giants are bad, Jets are worse. We talked about this on Tuesday. I went ahead and made the Giants minus 2.5 a play at minus 102. And today on the morning show at Betting with the Bag, Teddy Covers gave out the Jets, and Big Ragu agreed. Jets, Jets are the play, and that made me extremely uncomfortable. 52 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 9 miles per hour. The Giants open up minus 3 at plus 108, so a big plus line. They're now 2.5 at minus 116. There are threes on the board at Bookmaker, at BetOnline, at UWager, at Bet365, at William Hill. The Giants are 2-7 on a 5-game losing streak. Danny Dimes tied with Jameis Winston for number 1 in giveaways with 16. League high, 8 fumbles lost, 8 picks, and he does not look good right now, but they were much closer than the score indicated in that Dallas Cowboys game. Giants have 22 turnovers in 9 games. Their 12 fumbles lost are a league high. Jets rank last in NFL in total offense, passing offense, third down offense, second to last in sacks allowed, 31st in scoring. Darnold's looked terrible since coming back from mono. 3 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Leonard Williams will be on the other side. You know, Leonard Williams can step up in this situation. He didn't look bad. 1 tackle, 2 assists, quarterback hit against the Cowboys. Why are these great cappers against me, Donnie? And are you thinking the same thing that they are?
Well, I mean, I could see the point is a lot of times in the NFL, it's what you saw last. I mean, even though the Giants didn't really play all that well, they were hanging in there around the fourth quarter versus the Dallas Cowboys, which is really a step up in competition. And they hung with them for a majority of the game. Then you take a look at the Jets, who lost to one of the worst teams that's been assembled over the past, 50 years in the NFL. So immediately you're going to start looking at the Giants. But there's some outlying factors of why I don't like the Jets in this football game, even though they are home. This has the feel of one of those games where, like we saw, even though the Green Bay Packers went out to the West Coast versus the Chargers and lost, it was a home game for them. Yeah, it says Jets home game, but do you think the Jets, for any second, any one of their fans, once they started hitting the skids, are just pushing the sell button no matter what they can get? And I've been a season ticket holder. I've been through some bad seasons where, hey, you know what? I know the Giants fans will buy this ticket. Let me put it up for grabs. Probably going to be a Giants home game from the sound of it, but also from the football team matter. I just think the head football coach has his team under wraps for the Giants and still playing hard. Even saw one of those ultimatums in the locker room this weekend and said, hey, some of you guys got to play better or you're out of here. So they're still coaching this team to win. The Jets are just like a bunch of space cadets out here at this point, and more so than looking at a side in this one, Jimmy, which I do like the Giants. I think they're going to get the win and the cover in this game. I actually like the under in this football game, sitting at 44.5 across the board. I'm just looking at how these teams score. It's not so much saying they can't hit off a big play here or there, which they can, but when you're looking at like red zone possessions, even over like the past 3 weeks, both of these teams bottom feeders, 27th and 23rd overall in red zone touchdown scoring percentage. If you're not scoring touchdowns in the red zone, you're not going to be cashing in and hitting these totals. I look for this game to stay under because, look, a lot of these weapons are banged up. Le'Veon Bell's supposed to play on one leg. I can't even believe that they're actually playing this guy, the amount they pay for him, and also looking forward to their future where he might be, a little bit better next year with a better football team. And then looking from a Giants perspective, it's Saquon Barkley and nobody else. Evan Ingram's going to be down in this game. Sterling Shepard's going to be down in this game. They're limited at wide receiver as is. The Jets do have a middle-of-the-pack defense that should be able to hold up. But you're right, Jimmy. The key stats that you already went over. Look at the Jets on offense. 32nd in points, 32nd in yards, 32nd in the pass, and 30th in rushing. Screams under to me.
Screaming under. We have an official play on the board now from both Donnie and myself. Donnie with the under, myself with the Giants minus 2.5, and the market's gone with me, and I'm expecting that the public is on the Giants side, and I'm getting more confident seeing these great cappers in the chat that are also backing the Giants. Sean Mick on the Giants, Akira on the Giants, Tri Sawyer on the Giants, Michael Irvelina says Giants easy, Clint Richardson says Jets suck, Whale Capper. Oh, and Michael Irvelina also liking the under. A weird one. Our guy, Dragon Boy Gaming on Contrarian, taking the Jets. Whale Capper, how do you see this banging out the Battle of New York?
I think there's a lot of good comments there. The Jets do suck. This is a trash game. Muhammad was a game early. That Cardinals Bucks game is going to be fun. This game, you couldn't pay me to watch it. I am not interested in either of these teams. I have no actionable information to tell you who's going to win. I'll give Big Ragu a hat tip. He's on heater, man. Did you see that ticket he cashed on Vino Rosso in the Breeders' Cup Classic? So maybe he's got bringing his magic to the Jets here. Under, I could have made a case for the under if not for the fact that the Giants are moving the ball pretty effectively. They're just scoring field goals when they should be scoring touchdowns, and the Jets defense has whiffs of they've quit. And then on the other side, Darnold, obviously, like, he's been talked up as the future of, quarterback play in New York City in the offseason. And then lo and behold, Daniel Dimes is getting all this run. So if you're going to get a focused and sharp performance from Darnold ever this season, this would be expected to be the game. But all that said, this is just a mess in terms of motivations and in terms of the different ways that this could play out from a style standpoint. And with all that uncertainty, I just scratched this one pretty quickly.
Andre Kovalenko says Jets have given up. Giants play hard, and that was the main reasoning for my move, was that they're still playing hard, and I don't know what's going on with Gase's charges. What do you think of Donnie's move towards the under, Whale Capper?
I mean, I can see it. Like, if you told me that, both teams came out inspired and were trying hard and you were getting honest efforts out of both defenses, this has like a 9-6 kind of a whiff to it. But on the other hand, if the defenses are like, well, our season's over, we might as well put on a show for the fans, this could be like a 42-40 kind of game. Like, I can make a case either way, really, in terms of motivation. And, it's super, super tough to guess when you're looking at two teams that, have missed the mark so substantially in terms of their performances this season, and in a market with as much scrutiny and attention as New York.
Oh, I actually am. I got money on the Giants. You think I'm not going to be pacing back and forth watching this shit game? I got 200 on the under over in Stockholm right now in the Global Series in NHL. If that doesn't come in, I'm going to smash this computer against the wall. All right, let's move on to Atlanta, New Orleans. This total opened up at 51, and there's a few 51.5s on the board. New Orleans opening up at -12, now 13.5s and 14. I came in on Tuesday thinking, Donnie, is this too many points for a divisional game? We're expecting Matt Ryan to come back. I was like, Donnie, is this an over, or is this a vividness bias of these two teams playing against each other? Donnie got me off both, and I'm still off both. I know a lot of people are going to be hammering this over, but I'm starting to think, if you just break down the stats alone, you're like, this has got to be an over spot. But do we trust that the Falcons are the number one team in the league passing? Do we actually trust that against this Saints defense? Breeze comes back week 8, throws for 373 yards and 3 touchdowns, but he doesn't have to push it if they're way ahead. It'll be just the Kamara show, and he'll just run the game, and that's why I would be concerned taking an over and even a Saints team total over. So New Orleans defense, 5 straight opponents, 257 net yards or less. So Matt Ryan's going to come back first in passing, 9th ranked NFL offense. And I don't believe those numbers. I just don't believe those numbers in New Orleans with Matt Ryan, or with Ryan dealing with his ankle injury. I'm happy that I got talked off of it, and I'm still off of it at this point. That doesn't mean I necessarily want to take the under, but maybe I do. Maybe I do make this move. Donnie, Rightside, Falcons, Saints.
Well, I'll tell you, Jimmy, in the past, isn't this one of those games where you look at and you see it coming down the line, and if they hang anything 55 or less, you are absolutely destroying the over. But this is a little bit different New Orleans team that we're looking at, not from really an offensive perspective, but from a defensive perspective. After they got right, it seems like Seattle hangs like 450 to 500 yards on every single team they play. After that game, when they went into the Dallas game, I don't think they've allowed a team to go over 200. I mean, looks like right around 250 yards for Dallas, and then everything after that under 2. This is the Saints, under 250 yards. That's like what the 1985 Chicago Bears would allow. So now we're going to step in this game and say, yes, all right, Atlanta's had a week off to take a deep breath and decompress and see what's up. Well, also you're still having Matt Ryan fighting a high ankle sprain coming back this week. It's not like he went through practice Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and looked fantastic. Like, I think he had a limited practice Wednesday, skipped a practice on Thursday, and then had another limited practice practice Friday. Oh, yeah, he's starting. Boy, when you're going up with a banged-up offensive line against a team from a front four that can really get after it, that doesn't spell too much scoring to me from Atlanta's side. Now, yes, you say, look, you're right, Jimmy. Number one overall in passing. Even when Schwab came in there, they still were able to move the football effectively. This is a little bit of a level up in competition, and the one thing that you're getting with the Saints now off a bye, they are healthy, and they're healthy, especially on offense. Traquan Smith's going to come back in this football game. Alvin Kamara is going to come back. Latavius Murray was fantastic in the absence of Alvin Kamara, and also, obviously, Michael Thomas still a high-level functioning wide receiver, even with Teddy Bridgewater. It was nice to actually get, now from a betting perspective, I didn't think that, Drew Brees should have came back before the break, but now he already got that game under his belt, then goes into the break. It's going to be even more healthy coming out. Over 51, over 52. I actually don't like that one, and we talked early in the week, Jimmy, 31.5. Oh, my God, how can he take that team total? Well, now looking at DraftKings, that same 31.5, Jimmy's at 33, and you know what? As crazy as it sounds, I like it even more today than I did on Tuesday. I think you're going to be able to name that tune on offense, 35 points for New Orleans, because the one thing I know about Drew Brees, there is nobody on this planet that's ever played quarterback that cares more about his statistics than Drew Brees. 6 minutes, 5 minutes left to go in the game. If they have the ball around their own 40-yard line, they're scoring again, no matter what the score is. I think New Orleans is going to be able to get the cover in this football game, and I think New Orleans is going to be able to hit the team total. And usually you'd say that, wait a second, Donnie, you hit a team total, you're going to get 35 points and not hit the over. I don't trust Atlanta's offense in this football game. I want to remove them from the equation, just get after New Orleans.
Wow, that was a very interesting breakdown. Whale Capper, Falcons, Saints.
Yeah, that wasn't what I expected. Okay, well, I played the over 51 here, and this was the last play I added to my card. It took me a while to get here. And mostly, I didn't really have any intention of betting this game because I kind of have ruled the Falcons off, ruled them out as an NFL franchise, kind of, after what we've seen from them this season. And the Saints clearly have, I've rebought into them. Like, I have some positions on them to win the Super Bowl now. I kind of I think we've talked through this on the Audible in maybe week 5, 6, 7. This was like the perfect opportunity for Drew Brees to get a little bit of rest and rehab on his shoulder, even beyond just his thumb injury, so that he's not tired and having difficulty making deep passes later in the season. This sets up perfectly now for the Saints to make a run to the Super Bowl. And I think this next 4 games, the Saints kind of just have to stay focused and just kind of take care of business, because they have these 2 contests against the Falcons this weekend and again on Thanksgiving, and then in between sandwiched with 2 more divisional games against the Bucs and the Panthers. So this little stretch here, kind of sets the Saints up to clinch their division, and they have to stay focused. And with all that said, I would expect that their floor for points is about 31. 33 as a team total seems reasonable. 35 as an expectation seems reasonable, which means the question we're asking ourselves is, can the Falcons get to 20? And I believe that, given the nature of their, kind of the fact that they didn't fire Dan Quinn, the pressure's off a little bit. Nobody's expecting we're going to make a run for the playoffs now. We can just kind of have a little bit more fun on offense, I think. And I think with Matt Ryan back and with the weapons he has in the passing game, unless he's just getting completely run down, with another poor performance by the Atlanta offensive line, I think you see Atlanta put a little bit of scoreboard pressure here on the Saints to get it done. And 20 to 22, 23 points is where I'm projecting the Falcons to land in this one. So 51 as an over makes a ton of sense to me. And, I thought long and hard about taking 14 points with the Falcons. That's an awful lot in a divisional game. But at the end of the day, the Falcons may be pressing late, trying to come back and get a win and, turn the ball over, give the Saints a short field, throw a pick 6. There's a lot of opportunities here for things to go sideways if they're trying to play catch up. But the potential for garbage time points is real. The potential for the for the Falcons to have a little bit of offensive, a little bit of cohesiveness coming out of the gate here with, catching, the Saints defense is potentially cooled off a little bit by the bye. I think all those things set up pretty well for the Falcons to get into the 20s here, which I think takes this game over the total of 51.
Yeah, I mean, I came in with that on Tuesday, and I've gotten off of that train at this point. But that's a very interesting cap, without a doubt. Akira on Atlanta plus 13.5. Nutflush saying Drew Brees giving emotional speeches before every game. And I, too, have the Saints now in my pocket. Plus 250 to win the conference and plus 500 to win the Super Bowl. And I'm pretty thankful. I just don't remember a year where there was so few quality NFL teams. And I don't remember a year where I've just been violated in the prison pocket so badly in the sport. So I don't know what I'm talking about, basically. I'll just let you guys do the capping. I'll set them up for you. Let's move on to Ravens, Bengals. Ravens, Bengals. Ravens opening up at minus 10.5. That's where they are now. You can't find 10s. The total at 46.5. 44.5 too. And I don't know if I keep having just horrifying flashbacks of NFL. There was 3 weeks in a row here where I was wearing the Warren Moon jersey. 3 weeks in a row I won, and I was winning by like 0.8 units and 0. They weren't even real winning weeks. Oh, God.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this game. 53 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. What's going on with A.J. Green? Is this a contract thing or an ankle thing? That's the big question. Baltimore's won 4 in a row overall, taking over the division. That's a big win against the Patriots. They picked Brady off once, sacked him twice, hit him 10 times. What are they going to do with Finley? Ravens piled up 269 yards rushing in their win over the Bengals earlier in the year. Bengals have the worst run defense by far in the NFL. A.J. Green not coming back to help Finley. Yeah, this could be a track game for Baltimore, and Finley will try, but I don't know if I could sit back here and take the Bengals. No, let me tell you, I'm not going to sit back here and take the Bengals. Donnie, Rightside, Ravens, Bengals.
Yeah, this one's interesting because you look at, Baltimore and Cincinnati and you say, oh, my God, what's not to like about this game? Should be a runaway. It's the classic setup of, Jesus, we just played a Super Bowl-type game on Sunday Night Football. Look at us. We're the best. Now we're going to go on the road into probably a sleepier environment in Cincinnati against a team hasn't even, shown up basically on the field. Now, if you were back in Cincinnati, here was your thing coming out of the break, right? Re-energized, rookie quarterback. First 10, 15, 20 scripted plays. He's going to be nailed in. He's going to be dialed in. We're going to get A.J. Green back. We're really going to get a look at this quarterback down the stretch and see what he has. So then A.J. Green comes back, says, you didn't trade me, and I want some money. We stink. What the hell am I coming back for? Oh, yeah, by the way, I ran around, didn't practice. I don't feel that good, so I'm not playing this weekend. That just sends instant signals that this team is not going to be ready to compete this weekend, because the one thing that you need a letdown for, let's just say you have a high-octane offense, but boy, they're just not hitting these deep routes. A couple yards off on these passes that should be touchdowns are turning out to be incomplete passes. The one thing, if you have a football team and they can quit on a season or just quit against an opponent, if you can't stop the run against the Ravens, this is not just like, hey, we're going to hand it off 25 times to a running back and we're going to test your mettle. The quarterback takes off. 3 different running backs take off. They're running an elite set at a team that can't stop the run. So no matter how many times you hand it off, it's going to be a positive environment for the Baltimore Ravens in this game. But also when you take a look at it and you say, there's the angle that says, all right, it's 10.5, it's too much, or it's 11, it's going to be a conference game. And if you look in the actual, scorebook, so to speak, Arizona 26-23, Baltimore last time they played 23-17, Jacksonville 27-17, 24-10 to the Rams. Hey, you know what? They're fighting, they're hanging around. Those numbers are really lying, because when you look at the box score and see what the defensive performance that the Cincinnati Bengals continue to turn in, you can't give up 270 yards rushing and 250 yards passing in games like you did just about to the Baltimore Ravens and expect that game to turn out 23-17 again. It's not going to happen. And in this game, when you have a rookie quarterback with not much to deal with not out a running game against a team that can stop the run, I'm going to try to buck the trend and say, it's a super sharp spot to take the Cincinnati Bengals. I can't back the Cincinnati Bengals in any way, shape, or form. Only could look towards the Ravens in this game, Jimmy.
I agree. Clint Richard says under looks good. Akira says Raven Bengals under 44.5. Ray Williams says Ravens have a huge potential letdown spot here. And then Anna Merrick says Ravens are riding high if the Pats win. Quarterback is sick. I did look into that a bit, that he is questionable and sick, but he's going to be good to go. They win but don't cover. Whale Capper, Ravens, Bengals.
How about them Ravens, Jimmy? How about them Ravens? And are you sure? Is it that Lamar Jackson, is he sick, or is he he's sick? He is out of this world good at quarterback position. I can't get enough of how the Ravens have put themselves in position to clinch that AFC North. get that division title. That will be a pretty solid, happy party day when that happens. But this is a classic spot to fade them. The double-digit favorite off of just beating the Super Bowl champions, who your mortal enemies in the AFC. This is like textbook 101 handicapping. You do not lay the points, no matter how poor the opponent is after that sort of a game. And so then the question is, well, do we take the points with the Bengals? I can give you 15 reasons why not to. I'll start with Ryan Finley, and I'll go second with the offensive line can't protect him, and I'll go third with Zach Taylor's not a great coach, and I'll go fourth with John Harbaugh is a great coach. So there's enough at play here that really spells, Baltimore gets it done. Whether they get it done by 7 or 14, that's kind of a coin flip. I think if you could have gotten involved at the under when it was 47, 46.5, you would be in really good shape holding that under ticket. At 44.5, it's starting to get a little bit tight here because, for sure they can, there's a potential that Baltimore takes their foot off the gas a little bit if they're in control in this game, and you could see some garbage time points late. We remember, Cincinnati got a kick return touchdown for them the last time they played, so weird things like that can happen. Cincinnati's defense is so bad. Ravens, if they're keeping up their momentum, if they're riding high off that win, they could score 44 themselves. So this was one I stayed away from because of all the that uncertainty that was just mentioned, and just would like to see the Ravens get a win and put a little bit more pressure on that AFC North.
Joe Yurkovich says Bengals quarterback will be good here. Flashed it in preseason. Used the bye to coach him up. Bengals team total over 16.5 for our Joe Yurkovich. And Tri Sawyer says Paul Brown Stadium will be half empty. I live in Cincy, and people are not even taking free tickets. Tri Sawyer says usually there's a spot where the Bengals have a big game, but this is a different team this year. Okay, let's move on to this Lions-Bears spot. Bears open up a -3. There's 1-3 on the board now, I believe, a bookmaker, 2.5s everywhere else. This total opened up at 44 and it's gone all the way down to 41.5 or even 41. The Bears offense does nothing in opening drives. 7 of their first 8 opening drives, they punt. Trubisky's looked terrible all year, declining everywhere. 63% completion rate, 173.9 yards per game, 5.6 yards per attempt, an 80 rating. An 80 passer rating. He's thrown 5 touchdown passes after 24 last year. Trubisky had one of his best games last year at Soldier Field against these Lions. But, man, what a difference 1 year makes. Now let's go over to Stafford. Throwing for more than 300 yards, 3+ touchdowns, 1 interception in each of his past 3 games. Second in NFL in TD passes, 4th in yards, 5th in rating. You got Galladay rolling. He's tied with Mike Evans right now for the league lead in 7 receiving touchdowns. Marvin Jones, 6 TD receptions. They're just rolling. Galladay and Jones are rolling. The Lions should be able to take care of business. 41 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 9 miles per hour. Vitalis says best game of the week, Lions-Bears. You've had a great read on these Bears for 2 years now, and for longer than that, but on this show for 2 years, as we've only been on the show for 2 years. Donnie, Rightside, Lions-Bears.
Look, I want to stand on this hill, Jimmy. I want to go up and I want to plant my flag. And I want to tell you that I need to take the Bears again this weekend, because if this was a spot that you're supposed to – last week wasn't a spot that you're supposed to take the Bears versus the Eagles. If the Bears – and I feel like I'm saying the same thing if the Bears can't win this football game, and I just don't understand football sometimes, because the Bears will put a competent defense on the field on Sunday. The Bears on offense are going up against a team. You should be able to do whatever you want to as long as your offense is competent. And then I always stop myself and say, as long as the offense is competent, which means you just need a quarterback to make the simple read, the 5-yard out, the 5-yard slant. Oh, my God, this guy's running 15 yards behind the cornerback, and just throw a punt up there so he can catch the football. It just seems like not everything clicks with Mitchell Trubisky. But the more I keep trying to cap this football game, because even trying to get inside the game saying, let's just say if the Chicago Bears can't win, you can't tell me the Bears should not be over 20 points in this football game against Detroit. And yes, Detroit played up in competition, but also, yes, they've lost 4 out of 5 games. The only team they beat at home, the New York Giants. The Bears should win this game. 2.5 is insanely cheap. And here I am again Friday, Jimmy. I haven't pulled the trigger on the Bears, And just like out of just, I might just go after the show's over, log in and take the Bears all by myself and live with the misery if I do lose, but I can't really cheer if it wins. I don't see any way that you could take the Detroit. I'm sorry. I don't see any way you could take the Detroit Lions in this football game. God damn it, Bears, you're supposed to win this one.
They're a tough team to back. Clint Richardson says Detroit's defense a concern, Bears offense a concern. Akira on the under 41.5 with Lions, Bears. Fred Cantu says Bears couldn't move the ball without a defense on the field. Whale Capper, Lions, Bears.
Well, Donnie, if you go and place that Bears ticket, you won't be alone because I'm also on the Bears this week. I laid the 2.5 points. It's a nice number. This is a huge step up in competition for the Lions offense. The Bears defense is going to be violent and aggressive and looking for, hungry, thirsty. This is a beautiful spot for this Bears defense to get after the quarterback. They just got to put a couple of hits on Matt Stafford and totally changes the complexion of this game. I know that Stafford is playing very well this season, but in general, he's been compiling stats against some pretty soft defenses. This is a humongous step up. And then, are the Bears going to be able to move the ball on offense? I mean, probably not, but this is kind of a low bar. They don't have a very high bar to clear here because the Lions they can't stop the run especially well. They can't stop the pass, and if the first read is there for Trubisky, he can get it. If they put any wrinkles in the game plan, any RPOs, let him make some ground up with his legs. I think they can be physical. I think they can run kind of a pretty conservative offensive set here and still get points in this game. I think all this sets up for the Bears to finally kind of right the ship, and I'm ride or die with the Bears this weekend at -2.5.
Well, then if you guys are both going to take the Bears, you want me not on them. You don't want me to come on and join the party.
Well, whatever you do, don't lean the Lions.
Well, don't worry. Jay Peach taught us that a long time ago. Robbie Tagaloa, the Samoan Thunder says low total. Bears win. Muhammad Joma says they have no jam anymore. Checked out ever since they went to London. Billy Boxer on the under 42.5. Jeff Billings says Jimmy Stafford is hurt. So take the Bears.
Yeah. I've heard that too.
And then you don't want to be hurt against this Bears defense. Donnie, are you making any move? Do you have any feel on the total here?
Yeah, I like the over. This is it's so insane, but sometimes I just have to stick to the feel and the numbers that present themselves because when you look at Detroit, Jimmy, 27th in points on defense, 31st in yards, 30th in pass, 27. That means you could do whatever you want to this defense. Like, I think I woke up and I had a crazy dream that the Bears would be at like 27 points in this football game and the over will hit. You got to just throw everybody out of that Bears Hallis Hall if they don't win this football game or if they lose it like 17-14. Everything, the front office has to go, the coach has to go, the quarterbacks, everything has to go in this football game. The Bears should be in the mid-20s in this game or, God damn it, we shouldn't play football anymore.
Okay. Well,
you basically had these exact same two teams play this exact same week last year in Chicago, and Chicago won what, like 36-22?
And they're healthy.
Why not?
They're healthy, the Bears. Come on. Damn.
Yeah.
That's great.
That game, Trubisky went 23 for 30 for 355 yards, 3 TDs, no picks, and a 148.6 passer rating. So,
wouldn't it be great if we saw that guy?
Oh, that guy is long gone. That guy is long gone. But I did just catch the under in Stockholm, so
yes.
Let me just take
now you're feeling better.
Yes.
Now we can fire away.
All right,
Yes.
let's have some fun. Okay, let's keep rolling. It's amazing what winning does. Dolphins, Colts.
Yeah.
Dolphins, Colts. Colts open up at -11.5. Pinnacle just moved it to 12.5. 11.5 everywhere else on the board. Actually, Heritage hanging at 11. 42.5 on the total. As an opener at Pinnacle, they brought it up to 44. There are 44s across the board. Brissett, game time decision. But if he does play, he'll be without T.Y. Hilton. He'll be without Paris Campbell. He'll be without his best 2 pass catchers. Colts offensive line nowhere near what we saw last year. 9 sacks allowed during the last 2 weeks. You want to talk about a team that's losing players. Xavier Howard, Preston Williams, season-ending knee injuries. Kenyon Drake traded. Mark Walton begins his suspension. So now we get to see Kalen Ballage and enjoying every second of that. 2 yards, 2 yards a carry on 35 carries this season. Miami already with the worst yards per carry at 3.1 in the NFL. You know, this is a tricky game. This isn't to me just Colts are going to smash, even though, I mean, sure, that's a likely outcome, but I don't feel like this is just a slam dunk, take the Colts. Donnie, Rightside, Dolphins, Colts.
I like the Colts in this game. The only thing I'm upset about is I didn't get it at 10, so I did take it on the audible at -11. And here's what I like about it, because most of the people will say, and rightfully so, wait a minute, you're going to take the Colts? They're real middling on offense. Now they're down their best wide receiver. And if you look, throughout the game, banged up a little bit on defense, maybe they say, we can roll our helmets out here and sort of pick up this victory. And again, Jacoby Brissett's probably going to play this football game on an MCL injury, fresh after he couldn't finish the game versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I got to tell you, the interesting thing about this, and a lot of coaching sometimes comes into how your players can buy in. And I know Whale Capper last week, and he should have won the game outright with the Indianapolis Colts. I had a pretty good number at +1.5 on the Steelers. So that last field goal really wasn't going to impact me all that much. But I actually caught myself watching that football game going, you know what? I missed, even though I won the cap. I missed it. I completely missed it. This team has a third-string quarterback, an old man out there who probably got 5% of the practice snaps from when he's, came over to the Colts, and he's out here looking like a seasoned quarterback without his best weapons out here. And not for like that interception, which is a nice one by Minkah Fitzpatrick, goes the distance. If the Colts convert that, they win the football game and probably win it with ease. So when I translate it into this game, the Miami Dolphins won their football game. The only thing that they wanted to do, there's 2 things they want to do this year. Get the number 1 overall pick and just don't go 0-16. Looks like they probably accomplished at least half that battle last week. Now they go on the road, and this is a test of wills, because when you're looking at the Miami Dolphins, they already stink on offense. Now they lost their best pass-catching receiver and also their top tailback in Mark Walton, who got suspended. It's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick out there just fighting for his life on a team that's 32nd with Pro Football Focus and 30th in points on offense. And then you flip it over to the defense, 31st overall, 32nd in points. This is a slow burn game where Indianapolis just says, you know what? We're a better football team. We are going to ground and pound. And one of those that starts out 3-0, 6-0, 9-0, 15-0, 21-0, whatever it goes on. And they slow burn it all the way through that. At the end of the football game, this has everything to look at. A 27-10 final. Indianapolis wins this football game with a nice, easy cover. I don't think they have to sweat it, but it's one of those slow burning games where you don't have to worry about it, but the Colts will be in complete control from opening bell to final score.
I was on the Colts on Sunday, and I was watching the game with a few friends. Vinatieri, I don't know what you call shanked it, whatever happened to that kick. I got up and I just left, and nobody saw me again for 45 minutes. And good thing nobody said, "Hey, Jimmy, you want to try heroin?" Because that was a chance. That was my green light belt needle. God, it hurt. It just got me. Watching that whole game hurt. I was not comfortable that whole game long. Of course, it ended like that. Whale Capper, Dolphins, Colts.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the way Donnie broke that down. The only problem is you can't go 3-0, 6-0, 9-0 if Vinatieri.
Yeah, I was trying to do the math. You could tell I wasn't a math major in college. I'm trying to do it real quick in my head without actually calculating it. Yeah.
They may go 6-0, 12-0 as they score touchdowns and miss extra points. Anyway, the Colts I do think are the right side here. I am not expecting anything from the Dolphins. What we saw the last several weeks with the Dolphins was a pretty predictable, team performance. They tried hard in the first half. They gave it their effort. They didn't want to lose. They just wanted to get a win. They were tired of being embarrassed. You got everybody trying super hard. Well, they finally got their win. I think you see an enormous exhale this week, on top of the fact the guys that they've just shipped off to IR now. Like, this is a humongously deficit roster from a talent standpoint. Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be running for his life for 4 quarters of this game. And I don't think that the front seven for the Miami Dolphins is going to stop the rushing attack from the Colts once. I mean, if the Colts punt in this game, I will be shocked. And the only reason that I'm not out there swinging a flag and saying lay these points is there's a chance Brian Hoyer, gets the start. There's a chance he does something stupid like throw a couple pick sixes early, and the Colts have to play from behind, and maybe they just barely get the win with a score like, I don't know, 20-14 or 20-13 or something like that with a big second half comeback. So I'm staying away from this game, but I'm going to be watching very carefully, because if the Dolphins are ahead at halftime, if there are some fluky plays, some turnovers that get them, some short fields, maybe they score some field goals and some touchdowns on some turnovers, then I'm going to be looking pretty carefully at laying the points, whatever they are, on the Colts to come back and get a win here. Dolphins can't afford another win. They went from first overall pick to 4th with beating the Jets last week, and I don't think that you go through what the Dolphins have gone through as a franchise and risk not landing that number 1 overall pick this season. So, there'll be a call down to the locker room at halftime if this is close, and pull the troops and let's put Josh Rosen back in. Something crazy like that will happen if they're looking competitive at halftime. So look for a Colts second half or lay the full game if Brissett gets the start.
And if Brissett doesn't get the start, do you still make the move? And why did this total go from 42.5 to 44 if everybody in the chat liking the under and capping this game makes you want to take the under? Those 2 questions, Will Capper.
I think there's a reasonable likelihood that, like I said, the Colts don't punt. Anytime it's 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, that I don't think that this offensive line is not getting those 4 yards on the ground, honestly. And you could see the Colts get to 35 if they play a clean, mistake-free game. I'm not in love with the idea of laying all these points with Brian Hoyer. I mean, I thought he looked pretty solid in that relief effort against the Steelers, but he's still an older guy. He's still not a quarterback that I'm, super fired up with his ceiling, and his floor is pretty damn low. So I'm not laying double-digit points on the full game unless I see Brissett out there. And I'm crossing my fingers a little bit that this is close or competitive at halftime, and we get a nice cheap price to back the Colts in the second half.
Interesting. Move on to Panthers, Packers. On Tuesday, the weather said 26 Fahrenheit for this game Sunday afternoon. Now it says 34 Fahrenheit, so a little bit warmer. 11 miles per hour will be the wind here. Total open at 48, now 47, 46 and a half. Green Bay opens at -6. Now there's a couple 5.5s and mainly 5s. We already had our guy Muhammad Joma in the chat telling us, about the stories about these Packers partying hard in Los Angeles on Saturday night. They certainly looked like that on Sunday. Rodgers was sacked 3 times. 61 yards through the first 3 quarters. It was shocking. Now, I was on the under, and everything went wrong for me on Sunday, but I got the under at 47 and went up to 50. And it was one of my few cashers. Rodgers will have Devontae Adams back again. Devontae Adams should look a little bit better after missing 4 games with turf toe. He did have a team-high 7 catches for 41 yards. Kyle Allen, 5-1 as a starter. McCaffrey's rolling, 9 TDs in his last 4 games. Leads the league in touchdowns and yards from scrimmage. Green Bay's allowing the 9th most rushing yards in the game, 8th highest amount per carry. And the big thing with the Panthers is, what is Bradbury going to be there? Because you desperately need Bradbury to defend Devontae Adams. He's dealing with a groin injury. Is he going to be 100% even if he plays? You need a tall, big-body defensive back, and Bradbury is that guy. They will get Mario Addison back. He missed last week. His brother was shot and killed. What I've seen from playing sports and watching sports is that when a player goes through that, their focus is, extreme, and you need sports to take you away from that pain and that hurt. And I expect Addison to be as good as he ever has been on Sunday. Carolina leads the NFL with 34 sacks. He's been incredible with 6.5 of them. Donnie Rightside, Panthers, Packers.
Yeah, Kyle Allen, all he does is win, and we'll see if that trend continues this weekend. It's a tough spot for them to be in because, look, you're watching on Sunday. The Packers, public play, they got annihilated on Sunday afternoon. They just weren't ready to play, and it is the sign of a younger team that can't handle going to Los Angeles and playing in a stadium where most of your fans are at home, whether you're out partying or not. They were pathetic on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball in that game. So you look for a bounce back. The one thing that's going to help them out a little bit is we talked a lot early in the shows on the audibles how well that Carolina Panthers defense had been playing through the first quarter of the season, like epic numbers that they were putting up, seemingly leaking a little bit of oil. After that Houston game, Jacksonville got after him, Tampa Bay got after him, San Francisco got after him on the ground, then Tennessee, 121 yards on the ground at 5.8 yards per carry and 310 yards in the air. So they will be susceptible in this football game, but I do like it because you're getting some help back on the offensive line. You have some elite linebackers that can run side to side to try to stymie that Green Bay team on offense. It's one of the tougher caps that I've had, during the week trying to fight back saying, you know what, Green Bay at home, this should be good when it's going to be cold weather. But I can't get the taste out of my mouth of how poorly they played. And also, you got to stay for something because Carolina, say for one thing, they're going to play, and they're going to play tough in this football game. Outside of that blowout that they had in San Francisco, they righted the ship, which is a sign of a good football team getting hammered and then coming back and playing in a football game against a good quality football team in Tennessee and beating them 30-20. The one issue that you have here, and if you could try to have a crystal ball, if Christian McCaffrey goes off, of course they're going to win this football game. But if he struggles a little bit in that colder weather, I think it's going to be a closer game. I really liked Green Bay early in the week, but now that I look at the game as the week's going on, maybe a little bit closer to call. I don't have a side or a total in this game, but I was leaning heavy to Green Bay earlier in the week. Not so much late in the week here, Jimmy.
Yeah, I find this a tricky spot here. I'd love to hear Whale Cappers break down Panthers, Packers.
So I laid the points on the Packers. That performance last week in Los Angeles was pathetic. I don't think that's representative of the strength of this team from the top down. Your leader, Aaron Rodgers, played a horrific game. So I would expect that he rallies the troops here and they have a pretty comfortable win at home because I don't really have a lot of respect for this Panthers team. I think the points Donnie made about their defense leaking oil are very legit. They've lost a couple of key guys. They only kind of can really show out defensively when they're going up against kind of bottom tier quarterbacks or turnover-prone quarterbacks, really. And if there's anything we know about Aaron Rodgers, he likes to be a little bit, he's very careful with the ball. He's very risk-averse. He is not going to be, putting it up there for them to get some, convenient interceptions and, momentum-swinging plays. And Kyle Allen is not a guy that I'm interested in backing on the road in a hostile environment in the cold weather for the first time. This is a terrible spot for Carolina, and I feel like I'm getting a pretty cheap price here with the Packers at -5.5.
Malcolm Johnson says Carolina covers. Jeff Billing says, Jimmy, I love the Panthers with the points. I bet 300 on them. And McCaffrey going to run wild on them. Mohammed Joman says this line should be 9.5. Says Carolina secondary gets exposed. Wow. It's a tricky card. Here's a move I almost made on Tuesday, and I held off. And it's the Rams-Pittsburgh under. It was 44. Now it's down to 43.5. I almost made this move. I did not. Rams open up a -4. They're still 4 at most books, but BetOnline and Pinnacle have gone to 3.5. 52 Fahrenheit, mostly cloudy, 8 miles per hour. Rams off of a bye after a slow start. Aaron Donald seems like he is rolling. Jalen Ramsey's been a big addition to this secondary. And then we have the Gurley mystery, 92 carries through the first 8 games, down from 169 at this point last year. The Steelers' offensive line has been very good. Can they slow down Donald? They've allowed a league-low 8 sacks. They've won 3 straight, but they are 28th in the league in red zone touchdown percentage. They converted just 1 of 4 red zone opportunities against Indy last week. Still won. James Conner has been ruled out for the Steelers Week 10. Juju Smith-Schuster showed up on the injury report today with a toe injury. I guess he re-aggravated it. Steelers are 5th in the league in stacks with 29. Dupree and Watt looking very good. They've combined for 13.5 sacks so far. Teddy Covers interested in the Steelers. There were guys in the chat talking about the Steelers. I don't want the Steelers here, but I don't know if I want over 3 points with the Rams. But if I had to make a move, I would take them. Donnie Rightside, Rams, Steelers.
Yeah, I went with the Rams, and I'm going to make that an audible play -3.5. Looks like some of the outlets moved to 4, and that's probably for some of that indications on, you never like news when somebody gets injured late in the week in practice, and one of the last guys they can afford to lose is Juju Smith-Schuster. Still think he's going to play. He's a tough kid, but you never like to see that show up. The one, like, when I look at Pittsburgh, the way they're going to win this football game, they got to play hellacious on defense in order to hold down the Los Angeles Rams, because when I look at the Pittsburgh offense, and again, this is coming from, looking at it as the season's going along, Connor's a big injury for them. I get it. Even Benny Snell he was okay. But they do have some backups that can be formidable and move the football. It's a nice look. A win is a win is a win. And they did beat the Colts last week. But I think you're going to get the Rams off a bye, rested and ready for this football game. I think Aaron Donald's going to be a problem up front. Ramon Foster looking like he's going to miss this football game again. The two tackles can handle themselves from the Steelers. They're pretty good. But I don't know if I have a quarterback in Mason Rudolph that can throw me to victory in this football game. I think they caught a little bit of lightning in the bottle getting Jalen Ramsey, 2 back-to-back decent performances that they had. I think it continues here. I think it'll be a closer, lower scoring game, but I think the Rams go in there, win and cover by margin by 4 points or more in this football game. I'm going to lean on the Rams just because I trust their offense and their coaching staff completely more than the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think the Pittsburgh Steelers will be fine. They got to look. Steelers have a really good defense. If Minka Fitzpatrick is picking off passes and running them back for 98 yards, literally reversing the score by 14 points, that's what they need to keep them in this ball game. I just think the Rams are a much better class of team than the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point.
I agree. They asked Tomlin about their red zone touchdown percentage. They asked him about it, and he laughed. He laughed. That was all he laughed. If I was the owner, I'd open hand slap him in the face is what I would do. Whale Capper, Rams, Steelers.
Yeah, there's a lot not to like about the Steelers. Don't get me wrong. But there is one thing to like, and that's +3.5 points in this game. And my entire confidence in the Steelers is not born out of them having a good offense. It is effectively expecting them to look like San Francisco Niners light. They have the ability to put a hell of a lot of pressure on Jared Goff. Jared Goff has not done well when he's pressured, especially up the middle and in hostile environments. You put the Rams on the road where it's a little bit tougher for McVay to communicate with Goff, to tell him where to look, to tell him what to do. You take away Brandon Cooks from his offensive weaponry, and all of a sudden you're going to have a heck of a lot different looking Rams offense than we've seen in weeks where they have just been clicking and putting up points and putting pressure on the opposing offense. So I would expect that the Steelers defense is going to look mighty good here with or without creating turnovers. And I think a lot of that is going to be born out of their pass rush and their mismatches with their defensive line and the Rams offensive line. Other key point, the Rams have done a ton of traveling this season. This is a nasty spot for them, having gone to London, back to LA, and now going back to the East Coast. Like, this is just, it's a tough time of year when you're kind of going through the grind of the NFL season and you're asked to do that. I know they're coming off of a bye, but we've seen, every single team that's come back from London has had a shadow of just, not looked great in their next performance off the bye. The Panthers looked like absolute trash after they had to fly west after their bye from, post-London. Similarly, both the Bears and the Raiders couldn't come up with any kind of reasonable performances after their London trip. So I think that this sets up pretty well for the Steelers. They've been at home forever. I know Mason Rudolph is not a good quarterback. We will have plenty of opportunities down the home stretch to fade the Steelers, and I cannot wait to do it, believe me, because I hate Tomlin and I hate this team. I hate their attitude. I hate everything about them. I do think they compete, and I do think they are alive, though, to get a win here on Sunday in this final game of their homestand. They're going to get a lot of people believing in them, buying into them if they get a win here. But for those of you who are listening, who are Audible listeners, cash it +3.5 with me, and then we will be in the catbird seat to fade away on this team down the stretch.
Wow, +3.5. Whale Capper, quickly, should I have made a move on the under?
I do think you should have. What's it at now? It's fallen to 43.5. It's going to be 43.5 or 43 by kickoff, I think.
Yeah, I just wasn't trusting any of my instincts this week in NFL. I made that $1,500 back the first 3 days of the week. Made it all back, and then last night I had -1s on the Islanders, who were up 3-0 going to the third period. I had a -1 on the San Jose Sharks that were up 3-0 after the first period and 5-2 after the second period. And
I'm sure those were winners, right?
Okay. All right, let's move on to Vikings-Cowboys. Vikings-Cowboys. Big Sunday nighter here. Cowboys open up at -3. That's where they are. There's been a 5-cent move at Pinnacle. This total opened up at 48. Now it's at 48.5. We have Zeke and we have Dalvin Cook, and they are competitive with each other. Also, in their last 10 road games, these Vikings are, against winning teams. The last 10 road games against teams with a winning record at the time, Vikings are 0-9-1, and we know what Cousins does against good teams. He's not going to have Thielen to throw to, and it looks like Dak isn't going to have Amari Cooper to throw to. Do the Vikings bounce back here without Thielen and with the quarterback we don't trust against good teams? Very interesting spot. We got to be quick here. Vikings, Cowboys, Donnie Rightside.
Yeah, but keep it quick. Look, I like the Vikings. They're a good football team, but there's still a lot of disrespect around the Cowboys. This coming from the prime Eagles fan. There's a lot of money to be made on the Cowboys. They're at home. I think the price is cheap, and I ain't feeling the Vikings without Thielen in the lineup. If you can roll your coverage and stop Stephon Diggs, they're going to be able to. They have athletic linebackers. They should be. You're not going to shut down Dalvin Cook, but they should have the upper hand in this, and that offense for the Dallas Cowboys continues to roll, even when they don't look good like they did on Thursday Night Football, or the last game they played, Monday Night Football, excuse me. 37 points in that game. 37 against the Eagles. Are they going to score 37 against Minnesota? Probably not. Vikings aren't going to win this football game. Dallas wins and covers down in the Dome in this one.
God, I just keep getting these nightmares of losing plays. I was on the first half over 13.5 in that game. They put up 37 points. What is wrong with me? Jesus. Whale Capper, you want to finish off the rest of this show? I want to leave. What do you want to do with this Vikings-Cowboys spot?
We haven't even got to your boys, the Niners, yet, man. This Sunday Night Football sets up like a perfect under spot. Inflated total. I don't know what in the world they are expecting these teams competing to get to 48 points. I see a lot of similarities in this game with what we saw previously this season when the Cowboys played the Saints on Sunday Night Football. I don't think that either of these teams matches up especially well offensively against the opposing team defense. Kirk Cousins in prime time, he's going to get you to 20 points? I don't think so. This is not set up well at all for the type of game that each team is putting pressure and scoring points and moving the ball well. I'm seeing red zone frustration and failure. Amari Cooper being limited and not getting separation is probably the one weapon that I'm afraid of if I'm backing the under. And he's a little bit limited, so he's not going to be as dynamic of a weapon. This is the type of game where I think you're going to see both teams expect to come in and run the ball and get pressure and dictate pace, but instead it's a lot of kind of just barely getting first downs, moving the ball between the 20s, and then either kicking field goals or if they can't get that key conversion when they're on their opponent's 45, they're going to punt and pin the other guys. So this sets up really, really well for the under. Maybe my favorite total across the board this week, under 48 in this Sunday Night Football spot.
I knew that.
Okay, all right. Okay, no,
Give me quit. You won. You're a winner today, man. You are a winner.
I'll come back.
We got the momentum. We got the mo.
Okay, you know what? I feel like that under is a good look, and so we got to be quick here. But do you think that total even creeps up more from 48.5, or do you think it starts going down now?
I'm surprised it hasn't already started falling. I'm guessing that they think that they can get some public pile on the over. The last couple of Sunday Night Football games have gone over. We know that in general the public likes that as a get back spot. Get back some money on Sunday Night Football. Play that Sunday night over if you don't have any other action. So there's really not a ton of incentive to watch it fall. At this point, I think some of the sharper players who are influencing the market have already weighed in, and we haven't seen it come down yet. So I would expect that if anything, it stands pat at 48.
Interesting. I do like the under. Okay, here's my second look on this card. I got on the over early. I got on it. I think I was certainly on it Tuesday. I don't know if I got it on on it. I might have waited till after I talked about it with Donnie. I got it at 46.5. Seahawks, Niners. Seahawks giving up 278 yards per game through the air, 28th in the league. They did give up 460 yards for Matt Shaw, but I kind of put a line through that. Carroll got that huge lead, and I guess he didn't want to embarrass Dan Quinn, and that was a spot that you had talked about, Whale Capper. Winston throws for 335 against them. The 49ers lose Quan Alexander. Seattle rushed for 145 yards against Tampa. That's the first rusher they allowed to go over 100. And NFL stopping the pass. That's what the Niners do, but they're just 14th against the run. Niners are getting Staley back. They're getting usage back. They're probably getting McGlinchey back. Both teams' kicking games have been awful. I'm on the over 46.5. Donnie Rightside, Seahawks, Niners, Monday Nighter.
I like your overlook, Jimmy. I really do like your overlook in this game. And, if you try to throw some stats out the window, yes, San Francisco is really good on defense. But you know who beats a really good defense? It's Russell Wilson. He's going to be running for his life the entire football game. I understand that. But if you do have a team that pushes the pace, which the 49ers should be able to score against that Seahawks defense, you should get a night. Because, look, Russell Wilson is not going to be held in the teens. This is not going to be a game where Russell Wilson is going to have 14 points at the end of the game. I don't care how good that San Francisco defense is. Because the one thing that's going to happen is if you're getting healthy on offense, which is a good thing, even though George Kittle might miss this football game, which is a real key ingredient here, I think Russell Wilson, this game's going to come down to the end. I don't think the San Francisco 49ers blow this football team out, but I think they steady the pace. But do you want to have a ticket in your pocket at -6.5 when it's a 10-point game late and Russell Wilson has 2 minutes on his own 20-yard line and he's going to go down and get a touchdown? You know he scores that every single time. That's why I'm not going to back a side in this football game, even though earlier in the week on the Audible, Jimmy, I'm telling you that San Francisco should win this game by margin at 7. I sort of backed off that a little bit, and I like the over in this football game. Both of these teams will be in the mid-20s in this game at least. I like your look here.
Barry Block on the Niners. Malcolm Johnson on the Niners, Akira on the Seahawks, Muhammad Joma on the Seahawks. Whale Capper, we got to be tight here, Seahawks, Niners.
We got a consensus on this over, guys. Let's get these points. I think both teams' offenses match up really well with the opposing defenses. I know the Niners' defense deserves all the praise for how well they've played this year, but they're not stopping the run well. That does not set up well for a team in Seattle who likes to run the football. I think Seattle is going to be able to score early and dictate a little bit of the pace of this game. You're going to have this massive monster pass rush. Well, guess what? You have a very elusive quarterback who is very, very difficult to sack in Russell Wilson, who's going to be, getting some, busted plays late. I would have said if it weren't for the Niners having 10 days to prep, and by the way, Kyle Shanahan preparing for this defense that has this many holes with potentially a fully healthy offensive line that can neutralize the couple of kind of standout pass rushers they have. This sets up beautifully for the Niners to score and come back if they are down. Or, either team really has the ability to come back and go toe for toe, blow for blow, touchdown for touchdown in this one. I love the over. And I lean slightly towards Seattle covering. I probably would have played Seattle if it weren't for the extra time and prep for the Niners.
I get it. And I get Donnie's point, too. I would not want to be up 10 points with the Niners ticket in my pocket with Russell Wilson on a 2-minute drive. I would not want that. He's just been so spectacular. MVP. All right, we got to put a bow on this show. We've just broken down each and every one of these games. Rafa, my man, can you throw up Donnie Rightside's action? This is the least amount of action the three of us have had in any week so far this year. Donnie Rightside on 4 plays there. Let's move on to the Whale Cappers action. Again, smaller than usual. Actually, I take that back. You still got 7 plays. Yeah, 7 plays. So that's a regular action from our Whale Capper there. Bears -2.5. I might have to jump on that Bears -2.5. And then let's look at my 2 plays. And if you're on them, be very concerned. Be very worried. Be very, very worried. I'm starting to. I think you guys are getting me into the Bears look and the Vikings Cowboys under look. Are 2 moves that I think I will be adding, quite likely I will be adding. Okay, there we go. Sam Montezuma says, what's your opinion on the Auburn basketball game? It's all college basketball on my late show. What a treat it is to roll with all these great cappers. Jeff Billings, Sam Montezuma, Muhammad Joma, Gegard, Clint Richardson, Craig 77, Brendan W, Akira 04, Eric Swells, the Sports 78, Malcolm Johnson, Rye Cape, Vegas Gun, Rem Most, Clint Richardson, Chris Brady, all you guys, man. We have no show without you guys. Thank you so much. And please, somebody look into Robert Weimer. Where's Robert Weimer? Donnie Rightside, any last words for these great cappers in the chat and those watching at home?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in to yet another week. As I said, the hard work's done. We'll see if these plays play out on Sunday. And the one fun thing is we can hopefully Jimmy gets on the Bears, I get on the Bears. Whale Capper won't be here Tuesday, and I'll take the flogging from Jimmy for making him go with the Bears. And how can I do that to him? And I thought we were friends, but hey, that's what friends are for, right? Let's all jump in on the Bears. I might have to hashtag that up as an audible play of the week. The Bears, Jimmy. Come on.
Maserati Mitch, do it for us, buddy.
I can just imagine Whale Capper, great to have you back. We missed you last Friday. Any last words for these great cappers?
Yeah, absolutely. So much fun as always. Thank you guys for joining. And yeah, this Robert Weimer situation is concerning because when you sweep this week, we're gonna have a problem. We're gonna have what was the issue all along? Was it him? Yeah, this sets up for a real problem because I like your chances of a bounce back week here, Jimmy. We're gonna get these tickets home.
Oh man, I will ban him if I sweep and he's there on Tuesday. I'm banning him from the chat. Robert Weimer's out. Much love to all you guys. This was a lot of fun, and I just it's been a tough year, and getting a chance to hang out with you guys it rejuvenates me. So thank you for the kind words of hope. And we will be back here on Tuesday, and let's just hope it's not a breakdown spot. Much love to all you guys. See you Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Let's have a big weekend.